or
This
have the
conference will
content
now be recorded.
in a timely fashion. So one of the things that I was thinking about, and I've talked to a couple of um, directors throughout the state, is a quarterly newsletter where we would provide the template, because the template was the hardest thing, is how to get it set and just put the information in it. But there would be a different lead every quarter, meaning it wouldn't be one person responsible for the newsletter every time, trying to struggle with coming up with content and applicable topics. So my thought was, and I just wanted to bring it to this group for input, discussion, just get some ideas, is that we would have like an APCO portion, a NINA portion, a council portion, and inline dispatchers. So that right there could give you, we could pick out a lead from each one of those organizations or areas, and then create a schedule and say, like, Michelle's responsible for Q1 of 2021, and whoever is responsible for Q2, and then provide that template for that. And some of the suggested content, I mean, you'd always have the standard APCO corner, NINA corner, council corner, and they could give input in what's going on in their world. But we also could have, one of the things I think is very beneficial coming out of these calls each week is people talking about lessons learned or tips and tricks, or fixes for issues. So I thought there could be a tech corner, there could be a calendar corner that had upcoming events for the next quarter or beyond, and just fill it full of those items, because not everybody can be on these calls, and if they can't hit every one. So just a kind of a one-stop shop that we could put some of those items in, and if the schedule calendar corner, like if there's some upcoming install, or there's some upcoming event or opportunity, or put all of those things in there, but not make one single person or entity responsible for it. And I'm open to suggestions. I just know there's a lot of good, valuable information coming out of these calls.
Anybody have any comments or ideas on that topic?
Michelle,
The only other thing. Go ahead.
Sorry, Michelle. When were you anticipating starting this? The first quarter of 2021, or in the next few months?
I think we could have one that's the inaugural one that doesn't meet any specific deadline, but then cement 2021's calendar with who is going to be the lead each quarter. Create the, ensure that the template is there. And then the one thing that I thought might be beneficial is that we create like a bi-weekly call. If anybody that's interested in participating or having input or has something that they want to share, get that bi-weekly call out so we stay online or stay on track and meet our deadline. I mean, I even thought there could be a KC just corner if we wanted, or just keep that under tech. But I thought maybe one for the end of the year, because we're already at August, and then start with a schedule for 2021. If we continue these calls, we could always keep reminding on this calls for people to submit or give content if they were interested.
We can certainly put that on as a reoccurring item on the agenda for this call. No problem with that.
Well, I think I will go ahead and maybe I don't have the complete audience, or I'm going to go ahead and work on the template. I have reached out to a handful of people who may or may not be interested in being the lead for the quarters of next year. and start working that angle. And maybe after we get the first one out, we'll garner more interest and more input.
Sounds like a plan to me. Anybody have anything else to add in regard to the quarterly newsletter? Okay. Next item on the agenda, the Text to 911 Committee. Melanie, I'll turn that over to you and let you present that topic.
Thanks, Scott. The Text to 911 Subcommittee for the Coordinating Council is meeting. We meet once a month, and we're currently looking for people that are interested in serving on this committee. We've reached out to everybody that was on the list, and some folks had to drop off. So we're looking for anybody at any level, whether that's frontline or supervisory or management. We're currently working on updating the Coordinating Council's policy and best practices document for text translation, and also looking at abandoned call, sharing some of the capabilities of the new update to the state phone system. So if anybody is interested in serving on that committee, I'll put my email up on the chat, and you can send me an email and we'll get you added to the weekly calls. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at 11 o'clock, and we discuss the document, and that's what we're currently working on. We also last year worked on a PSA contest and got all of the Kansas high schools involved in that, and that's something that we may look at doing again with the new technology that we have on the phone system. So we would really look to any input, and really to Michelle's idea of the newsletter. Michelle, I can get with you a little bit more offline, but we could add maybe a section on there of what we're doing, or I'd be happy to put something together for you on that as well. So Scott, that's really all I have. I'll put my email up, and if anybody's interested, we'd really like to have you as a part of that subcommittee.
Thank you, Mel. Okay, number 3. Question was asked, can we get a list of CAD vendors by PSAP? I think I can pull that list out of the PSAP profile information that each of the PSAPs had to submit for their annual report. And I will get that, I will try and get that pulled out today, and then I'll have Lori just send it out to the world, unless you would rather see it put someplace where you could just go and get it if you're interested in it. So I'd be interested to hear from everybody. Do you want it just email blasted, or do you want to have to go get it if you're interested and not have it in your inbox if you're not?
Scott, this is Josh. From my perspective, I'd like to see it just posted somewhere, so that way you could always go back to it.
I agree.
Okay, anybody that disagrees with that? Hearing none, that's what we'll do. We'll get it put together and decide where we're going to post it, and then make you all aware of where it's posted. Okay, 4th item. Does anybody have recommendations for decontamination of their PSAP? Either local policy or guidance documents that you've received, or maybe even from a vendor, best practices type recommendations for decon.
I don't know if Roxanne
This
is on this call, but I think she has some experience with it.
This is Mel from Shawnee County. I think Roxanne and I both use the same company. We utilize ServPro and had them come out. ServPro actually did a free cleaning for our center, but also provided us a quote, and we were very pleased with what they did. We were able to continue working while the center. Obviously, if it was a real life positive case, we would remove everybody from the center, but it didn't mess with our equipment at all. It was a very light mist that they used. The cleaning was, it didn't leave a terrible smell in the room. They were very efficient. And really the quote that they left us was fairly reasonable, I thought.
What did they use to clean the room?
I don't remember the name of the chemical, but it was non-toxic.
You said a mist, though. Was that electrostatic gun system, or do you know?
No, it was not electrostatic at all. It was actually in a bottle. There was no machines used for the static purpose, and the mist that comes out of the bottles they used was very light, and it did not harm the computers or get on any of those components at all. Anything that was potential to go on the back of those computers, they used rags and really got in all the nooks and crannies very well.
Roxy, I know you kind of came in the middle of that. The topic is recommendations for decon of PSAPs, and I think you have some firsthand knowledge of that if you wanted to chime in and give us your best practices recommendation. Okay. Anybody else on the call that has had their PSAP deconned, either doing it themselves? Stacy says that they have a sprayer and use the same chemical that their EMS uses for decontaminating their rigs. Roxy got dropped. Are you back now, Roxy? Maybe not.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry, I got dropped.
All right.
No, we use ServPro out of Topeka and Lawrence, and I just caught the tail end of what Melanie said there, but they did the same thing and did a great job. They were very quick and very prompt. We did have an exposure, so when I said I need you here in 2 hours, they were like, absolutely, we'll be there in 2 hours. So I've had a very good experience. Since then, our county has purchased a fogging sprayer machine, so they come through about twice a day and spray the center just for cleaning purposes. So that's worked out. It's a pretty light mist and it doesn't really create a lot of problems. So.
Do you know what chemical they're using to do that, Roxy?
I can actually find out and get back with you guys. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be great if we could find out, and then we can get that out to all the PSAPs just in case.
Yeah, for sure. I'll ask and let you know.
Thank you. Anybody else with anything to add on that topic? Okay. Next one on the list, distribution of minutes of the roundtable calls so that those who have a conflict and can't join don't miss out on the information shared during the calls. You know, I would love to do that. Maybe the way we can do that is have somebody volunteer to be the minute taker on each of these calls. I mean, I don't think we can have it be a standing thing because not everybody can make the call every time, obviously. But if we just ask for somebody to do that at the top of each call, get a volunteer, and then they could put together their minutes and send them to Lori. She could blast them out to everybody, and we could get it done that way. Does that make any sense to anybody?
I'll jot some notes down from this call.
Thank you, Mel. If you can just send those to Lori when we're done with the call, then she can get them out to all the PSAPs. I think between that and the newsletter, I think the newsletter will probably be a little more informative or a little more in depth on some of those topics. But at least if we have minutes from these calls, everybody at least knows what we talked about. So may not be the depth that everybody would want on each topic, but at least it's something. Okay, next one. Has anyone applied for a grant for scripted call taking, such as EMD, EFD, EPD? And as a follow-up question to that, does anyone know of grants available for this other than the Spark grant?
But I seen that on the agenda, and could I get clarification on what specifically? I mean, a grant for EMD and EFD, like what, the program, the card set, training, what exactly is it?
I think all of the above or any of the above, whether to implement the program or to replace card sets or anything like that.
Well, this is of no assistance to that person now because it's closed, but obviously when the state had their grant program, I think a few of us utilized it to upgrade some of that stuff or to purchase some of that. But also, I typically use my 911 funds for that. I realize that's not free money, but yeah, I mean, our 911 funds, that's an acceptable expense, but as far as a grant, no.
I would think that the Fire Act grant would be a potential for EFD at least.
Do you think the
JAG
really
grant
would?
Yeah, I was going to mention that one too. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was just thinking the JAG grant or the burn grant for LEO protocol.
Anybody else with any other ideas? Unfortunately, the grants have kind of dried up. There's not nearly as many grant opportunities now as there used to be. Okay, next topic. Do directors get called to court to testify on 911 calls as the record custodian? If so, how often are you subpoenaed?
Awesome. We didn't used to. They used to just take our tapes and that was good enough. However, we've got some new assistant county attorneys in our county, and her attitude is, I need somebody there to swear that this tape is accurate and hasn't been touched and yada yada yada. And so they want the dispatcher there, which the other day we had one come down. If I would have not argued with them, they would have had to pull 3 dispatchers into court, sit there and wait all day, and that didn't make me very happy. I got them talked out of that, but I have never had, I don't think maybe once, had to go into court, but I just got subpoenaed by our city court to go in and as a record custodian here. But yeah, they used to rely on the tapes, but anymore, our county attorney's office wants the dispatchers there that were on the call. And if that's more than one, well, so be it, according to them.
Scott, it's Dina from Barton County. I'll add on to that. I've been getting subpoenaed for probably 3 years, as well as on occasion my dispatchers. And most of my part is just because I make the tapes, I still have to testify on them.
Yeah, this is Tim from McPherson County, and same thing. I've got some subpoenas because I make the tapes. We have on serious, mainly homicides, my actual dispatchers have had to go in and testify, but usually they leave that up to me, and I get subpoenaed, but very rarely do I have to actually go to court.
Yeah, I'll add that. I mean, yeah, we do get a lot of subpoenas, but even the dispatchers, the actual occurrence of them actually going to court and having to be there is rare. Just they usually get pled out or something. I think we've only had maybe 1 or 2 this year that have actually had to end up testifying, but we probably get a subpoena, twice a month, but they just don't end up testifying.
Well, that county's the same. I get open records requests and subpoenas for business records probably at least once or twice a week. And I get subpoenaed for court often, but don't have to testify too often. My dispatchers get subpoenaed probably once or twice a year and usually don't have to testify. It's usually a big case. Like you said, if it's a murder case, we had a gentleman call and said, oh no, and then he forgot to hang up the phone and then said out loud what he was getting ready to do and then killed somebody. So yeah, we all went to court for that. But for the most part, I get subpoenaed as the business record. And I supply it, and then every once in a while I actually get the subpoena to go to court, but it's pretty rare.
The fun part is just recordings between the county attorney and defense attorney. We probably do, I don't know, 3 to 5 tapes a week for somebody.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I didn't probably 5 years ago. I did it twice a month. Now I do it twice a week. I have almost sat down and take a whole afternoon and just do what I just call open records between the public wanting this call or that catalog for open records requests. Between that and subpoenas, it's a way more than it used to be.
Does anybody have a form or anything that for open records request? Does it go directly to the dispatch director? Does it go through your open records officer that's assigned for the county?
It comes to me as director. Sometimes comes through the police department or sheriff's office, and then gets redirected to me. But it comes to me or Molly for those requests.
Is it a verbal request or do you have a written?
No, if they and sometimes these attorneys someone got a hold of one of our blank forms and just sends that to us, and I usually send it back to them and have them fill that correctly. But any calls they make or any requests they make, the first thing I do is call them or email them and say, here's our form, fill it out, sign it, return it with a check, and then we'll send you the tape. The prosecutor and the county attorney, all they got to do is email me and ask for it, and they get it. But defense attorneys or anybody like that, we charge them, and we get the money before they get the tape.
How much do you charge?
It's basically the county's rate. They figure $18 an hour. I charge them $3 for the CD and handling, so it's basically $21. And
well, that county does it the same way.
Yeah, if it's like the other day we had one that was like a fatality accident that went on for like 5 hours, and there was a lot of extra. So we charged them double on that, and we had actually, I think it was 3 or 4 different attorneys asked for the same recordings, and they all paid $42 for that one.
Yeah, I do $25 for the recording, and then if it's an extended scene, like Don said, I'll do 50. I have a form that I will send out to whoever requests it. I guess maybe I haven't thought about it, but I don't require them to pay up front. I just get a check and go from there.
We didn't used to, but we had one attorney in particular who didn't like to pay for them after the fact, and we got I think it's one attorney in particular in this area, or maybe two, that every client they have is indigent, so they can't pay for anything. That irritates me, but the county attorney basically told me there was nothing I could do about it.
I've had this Republic County, I've had a request from a defense attorney, and I said there'll be a fee, and they just threw a piss and fit. Well, if the county attorney isn't requesting the tape, then if county requests the tape, then it's open to the defense attorney. If just the defense attorney wanted it, I said there'll be a charge, because I had an attorney that was wanting a tape every dog up to chasing the cat call, and hell, he threw a piss and fit, went to the county attorney said, oh, you can't be charging for those tapes. And soon the headache went away. But with all that being said, can a couple of you, is there some way I could get a copy of what your form is, so I could kind of reevaluate my process?
Yeah, I'll send it to Lori and see if she can send it out to everybody.
I'll do the same.
Thank you very much, guys.
You guys can refresh my memory on the attorney, but she was at the Kansas Star conference that we had, and she also worked with the council for a while. But she talked to us and basically said, unless your attorney is requesting it through discovery, you can charge the other attorneys. So they get it free through discovery, because you've given it to your district attorney, your county attorney, your municipal attorney. But if they go directly through you, then you can charge the open record cost. And listening to this conversation, it reminds me, do you remember when we'd have our audits through KCGIS and they required we have an open record policy and all the forms? It just realized probably the last couple times we've been audited or were audited that they didn't look at those forms anymore. Are those requirements still in place?
Why would CGIS have any involvement with the recordings?
I can remember them asking to see your open record forms.
So, Michelle, also, it was at one of the conferences, we had some attorneys speak, and my understanding was that anybody that wants a recording, every county is supposed to have an open records officer, for lack of maybe a different title, but any request had to go to that person, and your local county officer, let's call it, would then get in touch with me. All my requests have come directly to me. Small county, we don't have such a person assigned for open records that I'm aware of. So I didn't know if there was a complication there of going through the process improperly, or does it really matter?
I've never heard anything about having to have an open records officer, or whatever they want to call it. If media calls, all that goes through our county PIO first. I can't talk to any media without them going through the PIO first. But beyond that, I've never heard of a open records officer.
Every county is supposed to have one.
Yeah, you're supposed to have a information officer.
Yeah, information officer. Ours is the clerk. So if somebody comes into the lobby and says, I want the catalog for something, I send them directly to the clerk's office to fill it out. I have it too. I can email it out, but I make it go through the clerk's office. They stamp it, then they send it to me, and I have a nice paper trail of when it was requested and when I sent it back. So there's no, well, I asked for this and you didn't give it to me within 5 days, so on and so forth. But ours is the clerk, and I make everything go through there.
I'll echo that for Barton County. Same procedures.
Yeah, I think I've only had one true FOIA request, and all the other ones have been attorneys that just call and work with me, and I send them the form. And but yeah, I've only had one true FOIA request, and that came directly to the director, and we worked that out with them.
There's a good chance the easiest way you work with the attorney is the less chance you're going to have to go to the stand.
Hey, Raymond, I put a link in the chat, and if you follow that link and then go one more, there's one called the Local Records Manual, and it gives everything you need from a local aspect on managing your records and releases.
Okay, thank you.
I've also been told that if it's an open investigation, any other attorneys not involved in the case cannot have it until it's closed.
Yeah, if it's an open investigation, I always check with the county attorney and the investigating agency to make sure that they're good with that before I release it.
The other question I would ask, this is Dana from Barton, how long are you all keeping tapes? I typically go 3 years, but what is everybody else doing?
Our county attorney told us 5 years.
Well, as far as recordings and writing,
5 years.
6 months.
I know that's what the state's resolution or whatever it is says, but I mean half our requests don't come till outside that 6 months. But I was hoping for 3 years maybe tops, and he went 5. But yeah, six months is not long enough based on what most of the requests we get.
Thank you.
And we will send out the chat log so that everybody has access to all the URLs that have been posted in chat after the call today. Okay, anything more on recordings or subpoenas or anything related to that topic? Okay, hearing none. Any other topics that anybody has on their mind that they want to throw out?
Scott, when is the new leaf-off photos happening? Is that in the works?
We are in the process of reviewing an RFP and making an award decision on that. So that should be in place in time for this coming leaf off season, which will probably be late February to early April is when it will be flown, and we'll expect to have the imagery from that by late next year, probably September, October, something like that, all the processed imagery. It takes them a while to process it. But there will be new imagery coming next year sometime.
Hey, this is Don. I'll let everybody know that's experiencing the Verizon no caller phone number issue. I was just called by AT&T. Some of you may know they put a temporary solution on last week sometime, they're implementing a permanent solution. They're going to test that out with us tomorrow. So hopefully they're getting this situation resolved. I know the calls like that have slowed down a little bit. We're still getting a few here and there, but hopefully sometime this week that's going to get fixed permanently.
Thank you, Don. Any other topics that anybody wants to throw out for today? Okay, if not, well, we'll give you back about 22 minutes of your day here. Everybody, thanks for joining. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Hey, Scott, did you see Josh's question there?
What?
Admin Day, do we want to see if anybody has any topics?
No, I didn't get that. Anybody have any suggested? We're going to try and do Admin Day as a virtual meeting this year. Anybody have any topics they want to see us try and cover for Admin Day?
What's the date that you're looking at for that?
Lori,
Raymond,
you have
this
that?
is Josh. I think that leads into another question. That was a two-part question to Lori that I sent a message to. Is also, I'd be interested in input on what that virtual format should look like. Is that 2 half days, a one long full day? I think that'll kind of determine how it also plays out or what the dates might be.
I would say if we're doing virtual, which is what we're doing, if it's going to be lengthy, you're going to have to do that over more than one day because there's too many interruptions for most people to be at a virtual meeting for 3 or 4 hours. It's a lot different than if it was in person.
Thank you, sir.
I think maybe since we had people drop, maybe we ought to send that out via email as a request for topics and format of the meeting.
And then maybe just put it on next or 2 weeks from now's call as well.
I would also add that we don't, whatever you do and whatever the topics are, let's just say we do it over 2 days, make sure that one topic doesn't bleed into the next day. You follow me on that? So by the end of that first day, whatever the main topic is, everything is discussed that needs to be, because of the interruptions or possibility that somebody only gets in on one day. They wouldn't be kind of cumbersome if you get on the last half of a conversation.
That makes sense to me. Okay, anybody else have any ideas that they want to throw out right now? If not, you can save them and answer back either next week or to our email request, whichever way we go. All right, hearing nothing further, thank you all for being here, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Have a great day.
Thanks, Scott.